So today, Milly Molly Mandy goes to a concert. Once upon a time, Milly Molly Mandy was going to a grown-up concert with father and mother and grandpa and grandma and uncle and auntie. They'd all got their tickets. It was to be held in the village institute at 7 o'clock, and it wouldn't be over until quite 9 o'clock, which was lovely and late for Milly Molly Mandy. But you see, this wasn't like an ordinary concert where people you didn't know sang and did things. It was a quite extra specially important concert, for Auntie was going to play the piano on the platform, and the young lady who helped Mrs. Hubble in her baker's shop was going to sing, and some other people whom Milly Molly Mandy had heard spoken of were going to do things too, so it was very exciting indeed. Auntie had a new mauve silk scarf for her neck and a newly trimmed hat, and her handkerchief was sprinkled with the lavender water that Milly Molly Mandy had given her last Christmas. Milly Molly Mandy felt so proud that it was being used for such a special occasion. Auntie put a drop on Milly Molly Mandy's own handkerchief too. When they'd all got into their best clothes and shoes, they said goodbye to Toby the dog and Topsy the cat, and started off for the village. Father and mother and grandpa and grandma and uncle and auntie and Milly Molly Mandy. And they, as nearly as possible, forgot to take the tickets with them off the mantelpiece, but mother remembered just in time. Would be mother, wouldn't it? There were several people already in their seats when father and mother and grandpa and grandma and uncle and auntie and Milly Molly Mandy got to the institute. Mr. and Mrs. Hubble and the young lady who helped them were just in front, and Mr. and Mrs. Blunt and Mr. and Mrs. Moggs, little friend Susan's father and mother, were just behind. Billy Blunt and little friend Susan weren't there, but then they hadn't got an auntie who was going to play on the platform, so it wasn't so important for them to be up late. The platform looked very nice, with plants in crinkly green paper, and the piano was standing there, all ready for Auntie. People were coming in very fast, and it wasn't long before the hall was full, and everybody was talking and rustling programmes. And then people started clapping, and Milly Molly Mandy saw that some ladies and gentlemen with violins and things were going up steps onto the platform with very solemn faces. A lady hit 1 or 2 notes on the piano, and the people with violins played a lot of funny noises without taking any notice of each other. Mother said they were tuning up. And then they all started off playing properly, and the concert had begun. Milly Molly Mandy did enjoy it. She clapped as hard as ever she could, and so did everybody else when the music stopped. After that, people sang one at a time, or a lot at a time, or played the piano, and one man sang a funny song, which made Milly Molly Mandy laugh, and everybody else too. But Milly Molly Mandy was longing for the time when Auntie would play. She was just asking Mother in a whisper when Auntie was going to play, when she heard a queer little sound, just like a dog walking on the wooden floor, and she looked round and saw people at the back of the hall glancing down here and there, smiling and pointing. And presently, what should she feel but a cold, wet nose on her leg, and what should she see but a white, furry object coming out from under her chair? And there was Toby the dog, without a ticket, looking just as pleased with himself as he could be for having found them. Milly Molly Mandy was very shocked at him, and so was Mother. She said, "Naughty Toby," in a whisper, and Father pushed him under the seat and made him lie down. They couldn't disturb the concert by taking him out just then. So there Toby the dog stayed, and heard the concert without a ticket. And now and then Milly Molly Mandy put her hand down, and Toby the dog licked it, and half got up to wag his tail. But Father said, "Shh!" So Milly Molly Mandy put her hand back in her lap, and the Toby the dog settled down again. But they liked being near each other. Then the time came for the young lady who helped Mrs. Hubble to sing, and Auntie to play for her. So the young lady got up and dropped her handbag, and Auntie got up and dropped her music. It made Toby the dog jump, but they were picked up again, and then Auntie and the young lady went up on the platform, and who do you think went up with them? Why, Toby the dog, looking just as if he thought Auntie had meant him to follow. Everybody laughed, and Auntie pointed to Toby the dog to go down again, but Toby the dog didn't seem to understand. He got behind the piano and wouldn't come out. So Auntie had to play, and the young lady had to sing, with Toby the dog peeping out now and then from behind the piano, and everybody tried not to notice him, lest it should make them laugh. But still Auntie played beautifully, and the young ladies sang, and MillyMollyMandy clapped as hard as she could, and so did everybody else when the song was finished. In fact, they all clapped so loud that Toby the dog gave a surprised bark, and everybody laughed again. They had another try then to get Toby off the platform, but Toby wouldn't come. And then Father said, "MillyMollyMandy, you go and see if you can get him." So MillyMollyMandy slipped off her seat past the people's knees and climbed up the steps onto the platform in front of all the audience, and she said, "Toby, come here," round the corner of the piano. And Toby put his nose out and sniffed her hand, and MillyMollyMandy was able to catch his collar and pull him out. She walked right across the platform with Toby the dog in her arms, and everybody laughed, and somebody, I think it was the blacksmith, called out, "Bravo!" and clapped. And MillyMollyMandy, feeling very hot, hurried down the steps with Toby licking all over one side of her cheek and hair. There was only a little bit of concert to come after that, so MillyMollyMandy stood at the back of the hall with Toby the dog till it was finished, and then everybody started crowding to the door. Most of them smiled at MillyMollyMandy and Toby as they stood waiting for Father and Mother and Grandpa and Grandma and Uncle and Auntie to come. Mr. Jakes the postman, passing with Mrs. Jakes, said, "Well, well, I didn't expect to see you turning out a public character just yet a while, young lady." And MillyMollyMandy laughed with Mr. Jakes. And then Mr. Rudge the blacksmith passed, and he said solemnly, "You and Toby gave us a very fine performance indeed. If I'd known beforehand, I'd have sent you up a bouquet each." And MillyMollyMandy liked the blacksmith. He was a nice man. "Well," said Auntie as they walked home together in the dark, "I think if we'd known Toby was going to perform up on the platform tonight, we'd have given him a bath and a new collar first." And there's MillyMollyMandy fetching Toby from the platform. And you can see Auntie and Miss Hubble's niece, Miss Hubble's assistant, and all the ladies in hats, look. There we are, that's it for today. Tomorrow MillyMollyMandy has her photo taken.